Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah and day 9 of the Spring Craft Countdown, where I'm sharing a brand new Cricut paper craft project with a spring theme every day for 14 days. Today's project is a big one, and I mean it's really big. Here it is. It's a giant sign made entirely from cardstock, and it is really beautiful. It measures 24.5 inches wide and 10.5 inches tall, but it's built up in sections, as you can see there, which means it can still be cut from US letter, A4 or 12 by 12 sized cardstock. This is definitely a showstopper project, and it's easier to make than you might think. Let's get started. This project is part of the 2026 Spring Craft Countdown. Download the cut files for free for the first 24 hours after this video goes live using the links in the video description or by visiting craftwithsarah.com/spring26. After 24 hours, the cut files for this project can be purchased from craftwithsarah.com/spring26 files. Or get the entire Spring Craft Countdown plus 35 extra bonus files from craftwithsarah.com/spring26 bundle. The download comes in a zip folder. You need to unzip this before uploading the SVG files into your cutting machine software. For instructions on how to do this, visit craftwithsarah.com/help and choose Cricut, Silhouette or Scan and Cut. Within there are dedicated help guides on topics such as how to upload SVGs, how to modify them to make custom projects, framing tips, and how to cut cardstock with your type of cutting machine. If you have any questions, email hello@craftwithsarah.com. Now, on with today's project. To make this giant sign, you don't actually need that many supplies. It's just there are a lot of colours involved. So what you'll need is coloured cardstock to match all of the pieces in the design. I'll show you a little bit more about that in Design Space in a moment. You'll need your cutting machine and a light grip or standard grip cutting mat. You'll need some craft glue. I like Barely Art glue and Collal. Barely Art glue is my favourite because of the needle tip applicator. If you've got one with a larger nozzle like Collal, you can put it into these little bottles to help it fit in all of the smaller areas. To add dimension between the different pieces, we're using foam squares. These are some of the ones I'm using. Now these are smaller ones. These are 5 by 5 millimeters and 2 millimeters thick, so they are pretty tiny. For a lot of the bigger bits, I actually use some that are 10 by 10 millimeters, a bit bigger, but the same 2 millimeters thickness on them. I can't show you what they look like because I have used them all, and to give you an idea of how many you'll use, I used about 2.5 packs worth of the bigger squares and about half a pack of the smaller squares to make the entire design. And that's it really, so there's not an awful lot of supplies you need, but like I said, in terms of cardstock there is quite a bit in there to make up all of the different colours. Here's what the giant sign looks like loaded into Design Space. As you can see, it is a lot of pieces. If we click and ungroup the layers, then you can scroll down to see them all. As I said in the intro, all of the larger pieces, which you can see nearer the bottom, are split up into different sections, which means even though it's 24.5 inches overall, you can still cut it on a normal Cricut mat from normal sheets of paper. The toughest bit about this project will be choosing all the paper and making sure you've got enough. To make sure you know how many of each sheet you'll need, click Make and that will separate out all the colours for you. It will default to 12 by 12 inch cardstock, but you can change it in the drop downs here. For instance, I tend to use A4. You can then click and drag to move things about, and what's really good is you can see exactly how many sheets of each colour you'll need. Now you would need to change the paper sizes for each one individually, each of your different colours. But once you've done that, then it will have counted and recalculated all of those different colours for you, so you'll know how many bits of cardstock you need. As you can see from scrolling down, it is quite a lot. Most of this is on 12 by 12 at the moment, and it comes to 38 sheets. The more you reduce the paper size, the more sheets it will need because there'll be less room for it to fill up all the pages. But it should cut completely on either 12 by 12 US letter or A4 card. When you've got all your sheets looking how you want them to, I recommend getting all of your cardstock into a pile and doing it in the order that it appears on the screen. As this is such a big project, you don't want to accidentally cut the wrong sheet from the wrong colour of cardstock. So by having them all in order before you go, you know that you've got everything sorted. Just don't forget to click back to number 1 before you start cutting. When you are ready to start cutting, press continue and follow the on-screen instructions to get everything cut with your Cricut. Once you've got everything cut with your Cricut, I strongly recommend going through the assembly guide and matching everything into the sections that are included on the guide. For example, here I've got a pile of all of the pieces of section A. Here is section B, here are all the pieces of section C, and I've got the other piles just out of sight of the camera. That way you know for sure you've got everything in the right order, ready to put it together. We're going to start with the beginning, which is section A, the main background. This is the most important part of the whole sign. So it's really important to get this bit right, because if your base pieces aren't lined up right, the rest of your design won't go together well. The base of the giant sign is made up of 4 bits of blue card. We've got this one on the left where you can see the outline of a butterfly wing and some grass. And there are 4 triangles on the right hand side. This is attached to this bit, which has got 4 triangles, big triangles, and then 5 smaller triangles on the right hand side. So these bits will stick over each other so that the triangles perfectly align. Then next up is this piece with the smaller triangles on the left and the bigger ones on the right. And that one will overlap here, again, so that the triangles perfectly lined up. And then on the right hand side will be this piece with the 4 bigger triangles that will line up there. It doesn't matter which way round you stick them, because whether you did it, for example, this way round with the second piece on top and your join line is here, or if you did it this way round, then your join line is down this side instead. So here versus here, it doesn't matter, because I've created the design so that no matter which way around you put them, your join lines will always be hidden by the layers on top. So you'll never be able to see where you've joined the bits together. Alright, so we'll start with the bottom. Take your glue and we're going to glue down this right hand side until we go just over where the triangles are. Don't go much further out than that, otherwise the glue might end up being visible. So again, just down there, and then we can fill in between the triangles and the edge of the bit of cardstock. You don't have to do this, but it might help if you get a ruler so that you know the bottom pieces you're putting on are going to be straight against each other. Line these up. And also make that straight against my ruler. So my glue's gone over a little bit, I'll just wipe that away, making sure all my triangles are really well lined up. And we can move on to the next one. Put that against the ruler and get the next piece. Glue just further, try and get a bit closer than I did on that first one. So my line of glue is almost matching up with the edges of those triangles. And stick this one over the top. Watch all those triangles, every single one, to make sure they're lined up as closely on top of each other as you possibly can. And then the final one. Okay, that all looks like it's lined up nicely. Next up, we can add the rays of the sun on top. Start with the piece that's got 3 prongs on it, and the thinnest prong will go up into the little semicircle on the top of the design, about halfway in, and your other 2 bits will follow the line of the edge. They should perfectly line up with the edge of the design. And glue this in place. Then the next bit pushes up against there, and those bits will line up along the top too. Next up, we'll be adding the clouds, and this is our first foam square layer, and it will be the whole size of the sign. It's made up of several pieces that will all push against each other. There's no overlap on these pieces, and I've done it this way so that you don't have to worry about joining the bits together before they go on your sign. You can stick them on with your foam squares one at a time, and it will all just line up. And once again, all these join lines will be hidden by other pieces as the sign progresses. There's also this bit here, which will go along the top. Start on the left, turn this bit over, and add some foam squares. You want to add quite a few to make sure it will stick well, because this is going to have the weight of everything else on the design pulling down on it. Go around the edge of the piece first, and then once I've gone around the edge, then I'll put some bits in the middle, because if there was nothing here, it's not going to be stable. It will start dipping downwards under the weight of itself and the weight of all the other cardstock that's going on top of it. And we don't want that, because it'll mean we end up with a misaligned, sort of uneven look to the sign, and we want all of the 3D layers to be really consistent. So that's why it's important to put bits in the middle as well as around the edge. Now I can peel the tops off of the foam squares to reveal the stickiness underneath. Now we're going to line this up against the left side of the design. Again, be very accurate as you can be. So use this bit and also the base. And once again, I can put my ruler back in, although it'll be a bit harder to use that as a guide this time because this is raised up, so it'll be taller than my ruler, but we can sort of use it to help a little bit. I'm roughly getting this into place down that left-hand side. And then make it straight along the bottom and drop down. When you're happy with how that's looking, push down to get all the foam squares secured. Then next up, it doesn't really matter what order you go in. You can either do that first or you can do the ends. Remember, they're all going to end up so that they push and touch up against each other. I'll do the middle one. So when this one goes on, it's a little harder to line up because the only thing you've really got to go on is the bottom line and the straight line here. But with the straight line, it should touch up against without overlapping at all. It will end up naturally with a tiny gap between it. Where they're touching, you can see there's a little gap in there, but don't worry, that will get all covered up. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the other two pieces. I've got this one that will go at the bottom, and then this one on top. We've also got this little cloud to go right up on the top. I've added my foam squares to the back and line this up with the top little semicircle on the design. Then we've got the sun, which is made up of 3 pieces in different yellows. All of these will be glued on. They've got the shape of the cloud, which isn't on this layer. So what we're going to do for the first bit we put on is add a little foam square under just where the cloud is. And then you don't need to add your glue on that particular bit. The reason that I didn't put the cloud onto this one was that it then made the piece too big to be able to cut on A4 paper size. I didn't want you to be forced to have to use 12 by 12. So I figured this was a good compromise. And this lines up exactly around the edge here. And then the cloud will be kind of straight along there. So that foam square puts that cloud in place. Next up is the mid-yellow bit to glue on. You can line it up with the cloud. Then you know the rest of that circle is going to be in exactly the right place. And the same with the darkest yellow or the orangey colour on top. Finally, glue the remaining cloud on top. There are two little bird shapes to go in the sky here. You can leave these off if you're a bit worried about gluing them neatly. They are very small. The barely art glue makes it quite simple though. The exact positioning doesn't matter. Just put them so it looks like they're fluttering around in the sky. And that's section B done. Section C starts with another big layer that's going to stretch the whole way along the design. You've got one bit on the left, and then we've got the tree shape at the top. You can tell because it's got that little leaf on it. And then this one. There we go. And then finally on the end, this way up, this bit, which you can tell because it's got the leaves on that side. So once again, all these pieces will perfectly touch up against each other. And this is another foam square layer. So I'm going to go through exactly like I did with the clouds, one at a time, adding my foam squares under each bit and then putting them all next to each other. Next, we've got 4 pieces to cover up here, and I've just realized that this will cover up those tree shapes on here. I think I've left those in by mistake, so I'll correct that before you get the file, but it should be this little swirly bit there. Then there's a middle bit that would go up there, then the long bit, and then this bit here. So this one, all of the pieces will be glued this time. I'm going to start with the 2 end bits because I think that will then be easier to line up the rest of it. So we'll ignore the fact that I've got those random tree shapes that are about to get covered up. Then this will line up against the green. And I'll also do the end bit this side. You can use the top of the tree here and then the edge down here to see where to put it. And now do the other bits. I'm prioritizing lining up the tree over lining up the gap, because I want my edges to be nice and neat. It doesn't matter if you end up with a tiny bit more of a gap, as long as it is only little. No like centimetre gaps, otherwise that's not going to end up being covered. That one up there, there's not a lot to go with on the edge of this one, but we've also got the bits of the tree here. Again, I'm sort of prioritising lining up the tree edges to make them neat, like that. Next are these 2 darker bits, and they'll line up. You see where you've got a little ridge here where it goes down. If I zoom in a bit, you'll be able to see better. So it goes down here. The big bit lines up like that, and then the smaller bit will tuck on to the edge, and both of these will be glued. I think I'll prioritise my edge. There we are. And then 2 similar bits in the brighter green to go on top. The long bit goes first, so it'll go up and then down. That'll sit on top of there. And then this bit next, you've got the little bit with the semicircle, that goes over on the left. It lines up right on the left hand side with the darker green piece, like that. And then this bit glues up on here. Now once again, this is taller than that bit, so I will fix that before you get the file. I've looked at it so many times. I think it's only when it's all cut out that you notice those little things. But there we go. That's section C finished. We're starting off section D with another foam square layer, and it will make up the back of the water of the river. This one is made up of 4 pieces. They've got the 2 end pieces, then the tree slots in there, and then this piece will slot in there like that. So once again, foam squares on each of the back of these one at a time. I find it easiest to do these 2 bits, then this one, and then put that one in last. All of my blue bits are now on with the foam squares, and I love seeing this sign come together because of how all the join lines get covered up. So now if you look at the hills at the back and the clouds in the sky, you can't see any of those join bits. It just looks like one giant piece of cardstock. Only you will know how you did it and got all the pieces of card together. We're moving in for a smaller bit on this design now, so let's zoom in so you can see. We're on the right hand side and we've got 2 dark green bits, one to go there and one to go here, and both of these will be glued. Then we've got 2 green bits to cover that up on the right hand side, and these will also be glued. So this one here that makes up part of the tree, and then this bit here where you're starting to see some of the butterflies. Next up is the little light blue butterfly that goes on there. There are 2 light blue butterflies, one is slightly smaller than the other, so make sure whichever one you put on perfectly lines up with that outline. I use foam squares for this and move on to my smaller ones. There. Now we're moving to the left. We've got this piece which will be glued up against those trees at the top. Then the 2 lighter green bits to glue on top. One that goes there, and then one that's the size of the shape of the tree to go there. Nearly stuck that in completely the wrong place there. Use the left hand side, and also those top bits on the tree there to see where to put it. We're now back over to the right hand side to do the tree over here. There we are. It's so hard getting everything in shot. So this is 4 pieces, all of them for this tree will be glued, starting with the pink on the bottom. Then we've got the brown trunk. Then there's the pink on top. Then the darker pink to go on top of that. This sort of sits in the middle, doesn't really line up against anything. We're back to blue for the first part of section E with another big layer that will be done with foam squares, and this is more water. So So it's going to go all the way across. We've got 2 bits to go on the left and the right, then 1 bit that will go in the middle here, and then the top of the tree. So get all of those bits on with foam squares, make sure they line up really nicely, and then we'll move on with the rest of this section. My blue bits are all now attached with foam squares, and next you can either do the bits on the left or the bits on the right. It doesn't matter which order you do it in. I'm going to go for the right hand side first, so zoom in so you can see better. First up, we've got the light green pieces, and these are quite easy to spot because they've got a big curved edge on, and these will be glued on. Note, it doesn't go all the very way to the bottom of the blue, so bear that in mind when you're putting it on. And then that bit will push up against it and go on like that. Do the bit closest to the edge first. Then the next bit with that other curved edge. On top of that are 2 darker bits of green. And again, we're going to start over here on the one closest to the edge. It will just show the tiniest bit of green here at the top left over. Then the other bit. That's it for the right side. Now we scooch over to the left. For the left side, we do the darker bit first, so it's the opposite way around, but it's still 2 pieces. One that will go on there first, and then this one which will line up against it, and you can line up the little bits of grass along the blue. Focus my efforts on getting those grassy bits lined up and the edge of the tree. There we are. Then 2 lighter green bits to glue on top. Then this lighter bit to go on top here. The reason that we're covering this bit completely, you might be wondering why we needed the darker bit underneath, but it's so that the depth is the same between these 2 bits. There's one last little bit to do, which is the edge of yellow to go along here. This will line up along this line here, so it will stick on like that and then tuck round until it lines up with where you've got this little indentation. It's a little thin, so be careful with your glue. Put on there, bring it round. All this messy bottom bit will be covered up. We're now on to part G, and it's our last layer of bits that join together. First up is the lightest green bits we've got left, and this goes on in 4 pieces. Biggest one over on the right hand side, then you've got the one with this angle that goes in here, and then finally this one, and these pieces will all be done with foam squares. But what I recommend is when you get to this piece, don't put any foam squares on the back where it's going to touch the tree trunk. That's because the tree trunk already comes out quite a lot of distance from the blue, which was the last foam square layer. So if we added foam on top of there, this little bit would end up taller and it will sort of bow outwards like this, like that. So foam squares here and around here, so you're sort of here and here, but not in the middle bit. The other bits where it overlaps isn't so much of a problem because there's less pieces of cardstock there, so it's not going to notice as much, but that trunk is really thick because it's got so many bits under there, which is why I'm only saying that for the trunk bit, not everything else. Alright, so I'm going to hit pause, go and get those 4 bits stuck on with foam squares, and then we'll come back for the rest. That's those 4 bits on. Now we're on to the middle shade of green, and these bits will be glued on. So we've got one there, one for the right hand side, and then one for the middle. It's really starting to come together now. I love how this looks. That's those bits on there, and I'm so annoyed because I've just realised from sticking these bits on that there is a join line in view. I'd got all the way to this point without any. You can see here, there's that join. There's a hair in there. There's a join between the lighter green bits above that tulip. It's not very noticeable, but it is there. So what I will do before you get this design is I will hide that join line. I'll go in the leaves as a curved line rather than straight. So that will be hidden. That's annoying. And now that I've noticed it, that is going to be all that I see. Okay, next up we've got our last layer of green to go on top, which is the darker bits here and here. And I've lost a bit because there should be one for here as well. Ah, it's on the floor. And that one in there. So you will notice a couple of these joins on the front, for example here, but I've blended it in by doing it at an angle so it sort of looks like the edge of that is an embankment that's ending. So I know about those ones, but it's that one above the tulip that is annoying. Okay, so I'll glue these 4 bits on and then we'll come back for the next part, the final part, to add on all the pretty pictures on top. Hooray, you've made it to the final part of the giant sign. Now we're adding all the little flowers, butterflies and embellishments on. It doesn't matter what order you do this in. I'm going to start from the left and move my way over to the right, but it doesn't matter whatever you want to do. So we'll start with the butterfly over on the very left, which is made up of 3 pieces. We've got the solid yellow, then the little decorative bit, and then his very thin body to glue on top. So we'll start with the butterfly base to do with foam squares. Then glue the decorative bit on top. Then glue the body on the middle. And I think as this is so narrow, it's going to be easiest to put the glue directly on the butterfly that's already there. Next up, we've got this tulip, which is one of the pink ones. Start with the solid layer, the biggest one, which gets glued on. Then it's this piece to do with foam squares. Then this piece, also with foam squares. Then the final petal to glue with the narrowest bit pointing down at the bottom. Here and here we've got 2 daisies. These are made up with a bottom layer and then the white on top. And I think they're all the same size. I'm pretty sure they are, or at least they're very, very similar. So it doesn't matter which one you put in which place. I'll start with the yellow bits to do with foam squares. You might need to cut some of your foam squares smaller to get them into a few more of the petals. Line it up so that the petals match the shapes of what's there. That's sort of the hardest bit with these daisies, because every single petal is different. I'll do the other one for there as well while I'm here. I think I've just put my foam squares on the wrong side. Yeah, I have. Never mind, let's flip them over. Try that again. Those 2, no. Those 2. There we go. Then glue the other daisy bits on top, but now I'm paranoid that I've got these the wrong way. Yeah. I must have accidentally cut this white bit upside down because I'm now gluing on the nice textured side, and the not so pretty side will be the one we see. But never mind. And then this one, oh, this bit of card I obviously cut the right way around because the pretty side is facing upwards. There. There's a little flower which goes over where you can see it here. And then next to that will be the pink flowers which have a white base to them. And they'll go kind of over here to cover this join line up. Got that the wrong way around, the little one on the right. There we go. So it covers that most of the way. You only see about 3 millimeters of it at the bottom, and that's okay. I can cope with that level showing. And these ones have foam squares for the bottom bits. Then there's another yellow flower to go in here. Well, it's a blue flower with a yellow middle. And then glue the other bits on top. We'll only see the very middle of these bits, being the middle of the flowers, the circle in the middle, so you can put the glue straight on the outside. Blue, blue, and I've done it again. It's been a very long day. Okay, done it. I've also got the butterfly on here on the back. Little blue butterfly. Do with foam squares. I could just about fit them in there. There we are. Then this tulip here is a yellow one. Starting with this bit to glue on. Then this bit to do with foam squares. I'm checking all of them now to see if I've got them the right way up. And then this bit on top to glue. Then we've got the two bigger flowers here. The bottom bit is yellow to do with foam squares, and the top bit is blue to glue. If you really wanted to hide that remaining join line, you could cut another flower, one of the little ones, or one of them, to go over it and cover it. I might actually end up doing that. That's the left side, all done. It's so pretty. I think I will end up cutting another flower, so you'll find at the end that you'll have a flower left over that you haven't used yet. That'll be the one that you put there, but it'll be in the assembly guide when you see it. Next up we've got the swan. There's the yellowy bit at the bottom and then the dark blue to glue on top. You could leave it like that and have it as a goose or a different type of swan, or you can keep going. So next, if you're keeping going, is the white body layer to glue on top. And then the wing to do with foam squares. And then you can either glue it or foam square it onto the river. I'm going to glue it because I want it to look like it's further away than the flowers, and I think if it was done with foam squares it would look too far out. It's still got the little bit of pop from the wing. And then moving on to the tulips. I believe it's this one next, which it is. Always good to check. Okay, this layer will be done with glue. Then the next one with foam squares. The next one also with foam squares. And the final petal with glue. This time the thinner bit is pointing upwards. This one next, which is the other yellow tulip. Start with glue. Then foam square. Then foam square again. Other tulip in pink. So there's a few less bits this time. What shall we do? I think we'll foam square this one, the biggest one. Foam square the next bit. and then glue that last petal. The little wibbly wobbly bit goes up towards the top. Next we'll do the butterflies, and a little blue one with foam squares. And then the big one, foam squares for the bottom layer, and then glue on the two on top. So the decorative one for the wings, and then the body piece in the middle. Now this flower, we've got foam squares for the pink bit, and then glue for the green on top. Next, let's do these flowers. First, make sure you've got everything the right direction. Not sure I've got that right. One of them's the wrong way around. There we go. And then that one will go on there. Foam squares for the yellow and glue for the darker. Foam squares for the darker yellow and glue for the lighter one. It's at this point in these giant sign videos that I kind of lose the ability to speak. And then this one is not that one, it's this one. I don't think that's the right way round, that's the right way round. Foam squares for this piece, move it up a bit, you can see what I'm doing better. And then a foam square for the bit in the middle, which looks like this. Final daisy, foam squares for the bottom and glue for the white on top. Done that the wrong way round, haven't I? Have I? No, I've done it the right way round. Amazing. That one on top. Then this flower, which doesn't actually have a nice little home place on the design. I can't even get it to fit. What am I doing wrong? There we go. But it's going to live sort of in this gap here. Foam square for the darker bit and glue the lighter one. I think I'm putting these the wrong way round. I think they're upside down, but it doesn't actually notice, so it's fine. Okay, big daffodil next. Start with foam squares for the big piece. Foam squares again for the next bit. And glue the middle bit on top of that. Now we've just got two left. One, the bigger one over here. Glue the blue on top. And the last little one was going to tuck in here, but I wonder if this one will fit over that join line. It does. Okay, I am going to repurpose it and put that one there instead. Angle it as carefully as possible to cover as much of that as I can. Haha! There, you'd never know it was there. And that's it, we're done. Let's zoom out for the big reveal. Ta-da! That looks so special and beautiful. I'm really, really happy with how it's turned out. And it's the most stunning giant sign to have on display in your home this spring. I hope that you enjoyed watching along with me for this absolutely giant papercraft project. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts and paper crafting fun. I hope to see you again tomorrow for day 10 of the Spring Craft Countdown, but for now, thank you so much for watching. Bye!